I would not go as far to call Tim Keller a heretic. I've certainly not seen anything from him that would lead me to believe that he's teaching things that actually lead people to damnation rather than leading people to Christ. I just don't think following his teaching is terribly wise. He does a lot of stuff with just worldly philosophy and incorporating worldly psychology and things like that into a lot of his teaching. There are times that it feels too much like he's trying to please his crowd rather than be faithful to the scriptures. And I mean, this goes back a long time. I used to follow Tim Keller pretty closely. I was reading a lot of his books around like about 2013 to 2015, somewhere in there. And I was unaware of some of the interviews and stuff like that he was doing, some of the videos of his stuff that was out there. I think it was back in 2010 or 2011 that he did an interview at Columbia University in which he had given an answer that's since been repeated by J.D. Greer and Ed Litton, talking about how, well, not the God whispers about sexual sin necessarily. It was something else. It was, I'm not going to remember the answer exactly off the top of my head, but it had to do with homosexuality. And he was really, he was teaching kind of softly on that particular subject. It was the statement about how God does not condemn anyone for being a homosexual because he doesn't save anyone for being a heterosexual. That was kind of the statement that he made. Now, I didn't know that he said that. So even when I was reading his stuff back in like 2014, I didn't know about that interview. And when I would say stuff about Tim Keller on the podcast, you can go back to some of the earliest episodes of the podcast, and I've quoted Tim Keller favorably. There would be people that would email me and they would send me links to those kind of interviews and like, have you seen this? And have you seen that Tim Keller's incorporated this into his church? So it's just kind of from learning about that I've learned that he does a lot of unwise things with his teachings that I just could not use him in good conscience. But I was on an airplane ride not long ago. It was earlier this year, before the airlines decided you had to be vaccinated before you can fly. That's coming, by the way.
Yeah.
But anyway, when I was on a flight and I was sitting next to a woman who was reading a Tim Keller book, and we had a great conversation talking about some of the things that were in the book. It was the King's Cross book, I think was what it was. And they were doing it as a Bible study at her church. And everything that we talked about was wonderful. It was great. So I don't think that Keller like inherently has some sort of heretical doctrine that we should avoid. I just think that there's too much worldliness that gets incorporated into his doctrine. And as social justice, especially the wokeness movement, as that has become more and more prominent, that has definitely affected his teaching and his imperatives as far as exhortation goes. So it's just not a good idea to follow Tim Keller teaching.